Rivers carve the world. They give life. They take it away. And in nearly every culture, they guard the boundary between this world and the next. Some spirits dwell in their depths. Some wait at the banks, but all are tied to the crossing. Today, we'll swim against the current of time and explore 5 river spirits that guard the boundary between worlds. We bring you stories from the edges of human experience and the farthest reaches of myth and legend. I'm your host, and you're listening to Echoes of the Past. Number 5, the Naiads of the River Styx. The River Styx was a place of dread and reverence in ancient Greece. It flowed from the northeastern corner of the Peloponnese into the sea near the city of Corinth. Its waters were dark and still, even when other rivers ran wild and fast. Because its source lay deep within the earth, it was said that the Styx served as a boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Across its banks stood the plain of asphodel meadows, where the shades of those who had lived ordinary lives were sent after death. Not Elysium, not Tartarus, but a kind of limbo, neither good nor bad, just forever dull. And watching over the river to make sure no one lingered too long on either side were the Naiads. In Greek mythology, the Naiads were water spirits. They inhabited springs, streams, fountains, and pools. They could be benevolent if respected, but quick to punish any who polluted or misused water. They also guarded sacred sites and punished those who trespassed. In particular, the Naiad Alcyone watched over the Styx. Her task was to ensure the newly dead were properly dispatched to the meadows so they wouldn't be tempted to linger in the land of the living or worse, rise up against the ferryman, Charon. She was especially protective of travelers who showed piety and respect. But those foolish enough to defy her found themselves trapped in the meadows for an eternity. Even heroes like Heracles were made to think twice about disrespecting the Naiads. Once he needed to bathe in the Styx to purify himself before entering a temple, but he was warned by an old man to not pollute the waters with his dirty feet. He refused to listen and was immediately transformed into a stag until he begged Alcyone for forgiveness. That's because the Naiad's power over the river was absolute. She ruled over the passage to the Underworld, making her one of the most powerful beings in the Greek pantheon. Gnome 4, the Vodyanoi of Slavic waters. Across the many branches of Slavic folklore, the Vodyanoi are spirits of the water, tricksters with a taste for human flesh. Sometimes they are seen as malevolent forces of nature, causing floods and drowning those unlucky enough to be caught in them. Other times they appear as ambiguous, indifferent to the affairs of mortals, though they can be bribed or besought. Most often the Vodun are associated with deep bodies of water, lakes, ponds, and the sea. But there is one notable exception, the river Vodyanoi. The river Vodyanoi is typically depicted as an old, hunched man with long white hair and beard. His skin is weathered like tree bark. His eyes are bottomless pits, and he carries a staff as thick as a tree trunk. He is usually seen sitting on a stone in the middle of the river, staring blankly ahead, completely alone. But if you ask the peasants of the region, he is anything but. They claim he is surrounded by a whole host of spirits, both benevolent and malicious, and he commands them all with an iron rod, for the Vodyanoi are notoriously unpredictable. One day they might help a traveler crossing a river, guiding them safely to shore or warning them of an upcoming flood. But the next day, they could drown that same person without provocation. To avoid angering the spirit, people built shrines along the riverbanks, stocked with food, drink, and trinkets, begging the Vodyanoi to accept their offerings and pass them safely through his domain. After all, the river Vodyanoi held sway over life and death. He determined who would live to see another sunrise and who would join him beneath the waves. Number 3, the ox head and horse face of the Yellow Springs. In Chinese lore, the Yellow Springs lie deep within the earth. They are 3 great pools of water guarded by 3 divine generals. At the first spring, the ox head, judges record the deeds of the worthy. At the second spring, the horse face weighs the hearts of the virtuous. And at the third spring, the black and white impermanence decides the fates of mortals. Once King Uwen of Shangtang heard of the yellow springs, he became obsessed with finding them. His ministers warned him that seeking such knowledge was dangerous and pointless, but he refused to listen. When he died, his ministers were proven correct. His soul arrived at the yellow springs, but the three generals prevented him from passing. The ox head asked why he should pass the first spring. The king boasted of his many accomplishments, but the ox head was unimpressed. He dipped a white bone in the water and splashed it onto the king's face. Then he asked him if that hurt. The king nodded. Then the ox head said, "You have failed the first test." They led him to the second spring, where the horse face repeated the test. Again, the king failed. Finally, they reached the third spring. The black and white impermanence performed the same test. Again, the king failed. The three generals then bound the king with ropes made of hemp and threw him into the yellow springs, and as the water closed over his head, he finally understood what his ministers had meant. Number 2. The Encantado of the Amazon. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, there lies a hidden river, a tributary of the mighty Rio Negro. It is here where the river Encantado flows backwards, defying the natural order and hiding a gateway to the spirit world. Now no one can see the source of the Encantado, for it is concealed by mist and magic, and only the trees lining its banks know its secrets. According to Brazilian folklore, the Encantados are the spirits of the forest. They are invisible to most people, but they can be heard rustling the leaves or calling out to each other in voices like running water. They love to mess with people, leading them astray with false trails or frightening them with strange sounds and apparitions. Sometimes they are helpful, warning travelers of danger or guiding them to safety. But most of the time they keep to themselves. But there are some who seek out the Encantado, for they have powers beyond human understanding. When the moon is full, shamans will sail up the Rio Encantado in canoes made of bark. They travel past the jaguar who guards the entrance to the spirit world and into the enchanted river. There, the trees become spirits, the rocks turn to faces, and the very water sings to them. The shaman communes with the spirits, learns their secrets, and gains their favor. Then they return to the world of men, forever changed by their journey. And number 1, the Nyanzu, the river watcher of forgotten temples. The Nyanzu is a river spirit from Southeast Asia. He is usually depicted as an old man with green or red skin and a long white beard. He wears a crown of reeds and carries a staff topped with a skull. The Nyanzu lives in the rivers and swamps, and he watches over the ruins of forgotten temples. He is a trickster spirit, and he loves to play tricks on humans. Sometimes he helps those who are lost or injured, but most of the time he leads travelers astray or makes them lose their way. The Nyanzu is a powerful spirit, and he can control the water to his will. He can cause floods and droughts, and he can use his water magic to harm those who have wronged him. He is also a shapeshifter, and he can take the form of an animal, most commonly a crocodile. This allows him to sneak up on his victims and catch them off guard. Despite his fearsome reputation, the Nyanzu is not all bad. He is the protector of the forgotten temples, and he punishes those who desecrate them. He is also a teacher of sorts, and he tests the wisdom and courage of those who seek him out. Those who are successful in their trials are rewarded with knowledge and power. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe so you won't miss a single tale. And while you're at it, leave us a review to let us know what river spirits have spooked you the most. Until next time, remember, some things are best left undisturbed beneath the waves.